Today I'm here at Kim's Pianos in Stanton, California, which is one of my all-time favorite piano stores for incredibly high-end, high-quality acoustic pianos. What's amazing about Kim's Pianos is that while many dealerships, and of course I won't name any names, and in fact I can't even think of any off the top of my head right now, but I have experienced them in the past, who deal with high-end pianos who don't want anyone touching them and they put velvet ropes around the piano. Kim's is the exact opposite. Benjamin Kim and other people who work here encourage people to play the instruments even if they're outside of their budget. Simply to explore and enjoy a majestic instrument is truly a treat, and Benjamin Kim understands this and welcomes anyone and everyone to play the instruments at their store, which is amazing. And he makes a few little special exceptions for me, like this particular piano, which has been sold. And it's pretty much the universal rule to not play a sold piano, but this one is so special and so rare and such a good piano that Benjamin Kim is letting me do a video on it. So thank you very much to that, and let's talk about the piano in front of us. But first, I just have to show, look at the beautiful pianos behind us. Look at that, it's so cool. But back to this. This is a Bösendorfer Imperial, the 290, the largest, widest acoustic piano that Bösendorfer makes. They are an Austrian brand who has been around for over 100 years, and a while ago there was some controversy with Yamaha purchasing the company, and people thought perhaps the instruments wouldn't be as good as they once were, and that is not true. The pianos have been better than ever, and I believe this to be a little bit before Yamaha bought Bösendorfer. This was made in 1991, and I believe Yamaha bought them in the mid-2000s. So this is an interesting instrument from an interesting time during Bösendorfer's life. I think, if my memory serves me correct, this was between the time when Kimball had Bösendorfer and Yamaha bought Bösendorfer. It's been a while since I've done that research, so maybe my years are off. Maybe that in-between time was narrower than I believed. But nonetheless, regardless of who owned Bösendorfer at the time, this is a phenomenal instrument. The piano was from 1991, and it actually has been slightly reconditioned by the amazing folks at Meyer. They run a piano restoration company, and they do everything from full restorations of antique instruments from the 1890s to mild refurbishings of fantastic instruments that are in good condition. I believe they redid the finish of the instrument, replaced a few strings, and maybe redid the action, re-regulated it. It probably didn't need very much. Regardless of what work they did, both the inside and the outside of the piano look amazing, and the piano sounds great and feels great to play. So first I want to show you some of the visual things about the 290 that make it really, really striking. Then we'll come back and we'll talk about what it's like to play, because that is awesome. So this is a head-on view, kind of like what the performer would see of the Bösendorfer 290, and as you can see, it is just impressive, absolutely impressive. I'll be showing you some close-up photos here in a bit of some details of the inside that you can't see too well from that angle, but I wanted to give you that angle because it's probably the most impressive angle of the Bösendorfer 290. You can see that it's wide. It's extra wide for a particular reason if you look in the bass. We'll talk about that later. It's just magnificent. It is a magnificent, magnificent piano. It's just so impressive. You stand here, you stand there, wherever you stand. It looks incredibly impressive. So let me talk about some of the really cool aspects, the little subtle things that make pianos neat to me, and we'll talk about some of the aesthetics and interesting design details, and then we'll talk about the performance here in a little bit. So first of all, here's a little trinket. We have a little knob here that's used to lock the lid when it's closed. This is a distinctly European feature. Asian pianos often have it, like Japanese pianos, Yamaha, Kawai, etc. But it's originally, from my knowledge, a European design. Some Europeans in my comment section are surprised to know that American-made pianos don't often have these, if ever, but in fact they don't. It's really a European tradition, so it's neat to see that carried on here. Another tradition found in the Bösendorfer 290 is the design. What I mean by that is the rim. So the rim of the Bösendorfer, and others too, but the 290 in particular, since we're talking about it here, has 3 points. You've got an angle here, you've got an angle there, and you've got an angle at the back end where the rim of the piano meets the spine. And if you look at your piano at home, if you have one, assuming it's not a Bösendorfer, you may not see those angles. it's probably going to be smooth and curved. So why has Bösendorfer gone with the angles? Well, traditionally, in the very early days of piano building, pianos were very much like harpsichords, and in the very earliest days, pianos were built inside of harpsichord cases, which had all straight sides. In the early harpsichords, there were no curves. Later on, curves began being added, but there were still these angles where the curved sections of wood were joined together. Over the years, as wood technology changed and improved, people found ways to make the entire rim of the piano one massive curved piece of wood. But Bösendorfer feels that the thinner rim and joining these pieces together in the old-fashioned way leads to a better sound and a unique visual experience, so they still do it to this day. It's a very, very cool thing that Bösendorfer has that harkens back to the earliest days of the piano building tradition. It's pretty cool. Now, one of the most impressive things about the Imperial, besides its pure size, is the design of the harp. A lot of acoustic pianos have a harp that goes all the way out to the rim of the instrument. Some even have a harp that follows the spine of the piano. Those are called full perimeter plates. Most pianos have like a half kind of full perimeter plate that follows the rim all the way around this curved section of the instrument. However, Bösendorfer, kind of like how their rim is connected to the soundboard for more open, flexible design, the harp of the Imperial is also kind of open. You have these massive portholes, those are the names for the holes in the harp here, that are absolutely massive. This one's the size of like an appetizer plate from a restaurant. It's huge. And then you have these large open sections here where the harp or the frame joins next to the rib only in certain spots. It's not continuous. And it's a very unique thing. I'm not sure if Bösendorfer did this for the open design aspect or simply to try to save weight on this massive hulking beast of a piano, but whatever reason they decided to do it, it looks awesome. It's really unique. It makes it look beastly and muscly and just hefty. It makes it look awesome. Another neat European design feature that seems to be a little bit less common today is the individual hitching of the strings. The strings have the tuning pin up there and they're hitched. The end of them is back here. And on many American pianos, many Asian pianos, and even some European pianos, the strings are hitched in a looped fashion. One piece of wire can form two different individual strings that are struck by different hammers sometimes. However, traditionally the Europeans and the Germans and Austrians as well went with a individually hitched method, which is in many ways superior. If you break one string, you won't lose two notes. You'll just lose one string of one note, and so in that way it is vastly superior, but it is more time-consuming and a little bit more costly, so other manufacturers choose to do the looped hitching method, typically seen in American pianos historically. The individual hitching, though, is a very, very commonly a surefire way to tell that you're looking at a German or European piano, and traditionally it has always been used. You look up here in the high treble and you'll see 3 different hitch pins instead of one that has a string looping around it. The color of the harp I always have found to be interesting in Bösendorfer's. It's a rich orange, an earthy orange color. It's really cool. It's kind of changed over the years now. I think it's more of a kind of a peachy salmon with that orange mixed in, but regardless, it looks really cool and it's a very unique. A lot of piano companies use a gold. That Mason Hamlin over there off camera is golden. This is more of an orangey gold. It's really cool. It's almost like the color you'd expect to see a Lambo in or something, except more metallic. It's really cool. But let's go play the Imperial now and see what it's like to play and what it sounds like. It's a very, very magnificent piano to look at, and even more so to hear. Let's go check it out. Many of you, if not all of you, probably know that a horizontally shaped piano is called a grand piano, and I think the Bösendorfer Imperial is the grandest of all grand pianos. You sit here, you look at it, you take in its wideness, you look at how long it is, you can see the intensely just strong looking harp with its massive portholes and interesting ribbing. It's just a really impressive looking instrument, and that's not even factoring in the magical business going on down here, which we will of course talk about. But what is the playing experience of the Bösendorfer 290 like when you just play it like a normal piano? Well, of course, it's amazing. The tone of the Bösendorfer, but particularly this instrument, the Bösendorfer is well known for having a really unique tone that is unlike anything else in the modern piano market. Bösendorfer constructs their instruments differently than everyone else. They use thinner rims that resonate with the soundboard instead of merely being framing and structural component for the piano. And this results in a more clear, pure tone that really sets Bösendorfer apart. And this one, more so than others that I've played, really has a warm, clear tone that's as warm and clear as the Mediterranean Sea. It's a beautiful, beautiful sound. I think one of the most impressive things is the highest octave, which in many pianos, even some high-end pianos, can be a little bit weak. To be fair, you almost never play these notes. If they're a little bit off, you'll never play them. But on this instrument, they are near perfect. They are crisp and bright. Even the highest note has presence and a little bit of sustain. They are bright and crisp like you would expect from a European piano, and it's just wonderful. But the treble is not the only amazing thing about the tone. The mid-range is warm, clean, clear, and crisp like you might expect from Bösendorfer. And then the bass. Oh, the bass. Due to mysterious copyright reasons, I cannot play any more of that piece, but you can hear the bass is amazing. It's deep, it's rich, it's sonorous, it's, well, grand. It's not really any other better word to describe it, but grand. And the action of this instrument, which I would have to assume has been revamped in some way, shape, or form, and I don't know the extent of it. I haven't even looked at it, honestly. I just sat down and fell in love with the instrument, as I'm sure the person who bought this instrument did, but the action of this instrument is just amazing. It has a really deep key bed feel, key dip, so that your fingers go really deep into the key bed when you play it, and it has just a very, very nice, rich, substantial feel like you would expect from the runner action that is used inside of this instrument. And I think that's pretty much all of the normal piano aspects of the Bösendorfer 290 that make it amazing. But there's more. But wait, there's more. Piano edition. That's basically the succinct summary of what the 290 is, because you have the entire range of the normal acoustic piano. And I actually played one of these notes when I was doing my weird little thing. There's a whole bunch of extra notes. There's 92 keys on the Bösendorfer Imperial, and I've already done a video of this, which is one of my most successful videos on the channel, but you have to talk about this every time you see a Bösendorfer 290, and you don't run into them very often, so I'll mention it once again. These extra notes, these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 extra notes, were added way back in the early 1900s, and they were added at the request of famous arranger, I believe, Ferruccio Busoni, who wanted to do a transcription of some Bach organ pieces that had the extended range of the 32-foot pedals found in a pipe organ, using the 32-foot stops, maybe even the 64-foot stops of a pipe organ. And the acoustic piano, the traditional 88-key acoustic piano, cannot play pitches that low. So Bösendorfer, being the amazing piano company that they were and still are, decided, okay, let's make a bigger piano, because they're not big enough already. So they added 9 extra keys to compensate for this lower range that Ferruccio Busoni wanted in his pieces to transcribe Bach's organ works and masterpieces to the acoustic piano. So we now have all of these extra keys, and by themselves they sound kind of funky. But what they're really meant to do is to just boost the bass. It's basically a bass boost. It's kind of like the same thing, which makes sense, that the organ pipes are meant for. The lowest organ pipes sound really weird by themselves. But when you pull out a bunch of other stops, literally, and you play some chords, those low pitches add to the collective sound of the pipe organ and make it sound rich. So if I were to play G0, which is lower than your usual range, it's gonna sound a little weird. Still within the realm of normalcy, but it gets weirder than this. And you're not really meant to play them by themselves. You can, as I just did, or as many people wanted to hear in my previous 290 video, you can do a cluster of all of the notes at once, which makes a great thunder sound effect, but what they're really meant for is for accentuating and adding some fatness to the low bass. Let's play G again, but this time we'll just play a G major chord and do some stuff in the rest of the piano, and you'll hear how that low G really adds to it. Then we'll do the same thing without the low G, and you'll hear the difference. And at the very end, I actually did not have the low G playing, but you could still hear it. If I do that same kind of thing without the low G, still sounded amazing. It's a Bösendorfer 290, but you add that lowest G in. And it really adds to the piece of music, whatever you're playing. A lot of people also think that the extra bass keys add additional resonance to the Bösendorfer 290, which is certainly likely. These extra notes, when you have the damper pedal up and you're playing the rest of the instrument, are likely vibrating in resonance with the rest of the notes and adding additional warmth and depth to the tone. But what they're really there for is to accentuate big chords that you want to play and just add more depth to them, which is really cool. Even without it, that low E is amazing. And I think the other secret with these to use them well is to not hit them loud. You want them to be kind of like an echo of the first note. You don't want it to be the other way around. Could, there's nothing stopping you, but musically I think it sounds better the other way around. That's cool. We can even do the lowest note this way, which the lowest note sounds really weird by itself, but you add it with the other. Here's the fattest C major chord you'll ever hear. It's cool. So not only does the Bösendorfer 290 have the sort of gimmick of extra keys, it is also a phenomenal piano. And that is why the Bösendorfer 290 is so well loved, and Bösendorfer as a whole, for having amazing pianos. The playing experience of the Bösendorfer 290 by itself as a normal 88-key piano is outstanding. The tone is great, the typical Bösendorfer sound, the action is wonderful, your dynamic control is great. Unlike many Bösendorfers, which from my personal experience kind of tend to peter out when you play them loudly, this one feels great when you play it loud, especially the low bass. We already heard how fat that is, that C major chord. That's just amazing. Absolutely, absolutely cool. Really, really fat, rich, deep, warm, sonorous. You don't often always find that in a Bösendorfer. The Bösendorfer's real specialty is playing soft, gentle, quiet music. We'll play this, of course. That's where many Bösendorfers, including this one, shine. But this one not only can do music like that, but you can also play louder, faster stuff, which my mics aren't set up for, but believe me, it can do it impressively well. And then you've got the extra keys for fun, for resonance, because you can. And that is why the Bösendorfer 290 is an amazing, amazing piano. It's one of the rarest pianos concertgrands that you'll find in the United States, certainly in the newer side of things. I've only found 3. This is the 3rd. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video of the Bösendorfer 290 and the quick demonstration of the extra keys. I'm aware I've talked about it before, but you can't play a 290 and not talk about the extra keys. They're awesome. So hopefully you have enjoyed this video. If you did, you might want to go check out my channel. I've got all kinds of cool videos of acoustic pianos, digital pianos, Bösendorfer 290s, other Bösendorfers. Their 280 is phenomenal. Go check out that video. And I've also got many other videos at Benjamin Kim's piano store here in Stanton, California. He has another location nearby that I've done videos at too, and there's cool pianos there, but the best pianos can be found in Stanton. So if you're in Stanton or near Stanton or in California, come visit Benjamin Kim and his piano store here and play some of these wonderful instruments. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, thank you very much. Thank you for subscribing if you did so, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.